is a seasoned TV and podcast host who has written and published 4 faith-based books after a life of homelessness and addiction. Please join us now, Rob Ekno. Hey, Rob, how are you today?
Hi, Kelly. How are you? Great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm doing fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely. I've got to ask, because I read where you carried pretty much a D average in English. So how does one go from having a D to now writing books?
Well, not only was it a D and I almost didn't pass high school, but then I ended up learning to drink a little bit. And then I ended up adding in a little cocaine. And before you know it, I was a homeless person with a D in English. And so how do you start writing books? My gosh, I'm telling you, when you're just trying to get a bag of Doritos at, one of the convenience stores just to eat for once in the day, you're not thinking about writing. But blessedly, I eventually ended up surviving and getting sober. And as time went on, like the whole world, Kelly, just kept surrounding me and telling me that I had to tell these stories. And to this day, I've written 4 books, and I got to be honest with you, I still don't know where commas and the semicolons and dangling participles and all this. That's why they invented editors and proofreaders and all of that good stuff. So, it takes a team. No one, even though my stories are about my life, my sobriety, my relationship, my ever revolving relationship with God and stuff, and my faith-based books, it takes a team to put the books together. So the editors, the proofreaders and stuff, my job is just to get the stories on the page. And the thing is that once I wrote the first one, it just came like I got this juice inside of me. Like I used to go for the alcohol. Well, now I go for the writing. And it's like people started telling me wonderful stories about things that they were getting and blessings they were getting from reading my books. And I'm like, are you talking about my books? I'm not a best-selling author. I'm not some famous guy or anything. They're like, no. Your book brought me to tears. Your book did all kinds of wonderful things for me. And I was like, wow. And so we never know what we're holding inside of us that we're not giving to the world, that we're cheating the world out of, right? Because all of us have something inside of us that has something of value to another human being.
You mentioned blessings. What blessings have you received just by writing your books?
Oh, my gosh. We only have 10 minutes. I could go on for like 10 days, but I got to tell you. So one of them was my late aunt, Dee, and she had gotten a copy of my book, and I did not know this. My cousin called, says, you got to call Aunt Dee. I gave her a copy of your book, and she's going crazy. She loves it. And I call her, and she calls me Bobby. And she said, Bobby, she said, I read your book first day, and I read half of it, and then I took a nap, and then I got up, read the rest, and the next day I read the whole thing straight through. Well, shortly after, my aunt got diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she had that for about a year. I got to visit her the day before she passed, and I was in her condo in Rhode Island, and one of my cousins, her daughter, points at my book on the table, and she said, you see that book right there? Your book right there. She read every single day for the past year. You have no idea how much joy you brought to your aunt the last year of her life. And it's like, wow, to me, that was it. I'm a bestseller right there. How could I ask for anything more in my life than to bring joy to another human being? And another amazing blessing, Kelly, this was something my dad passed the day before she passed, my aunt, brother and sister, older and younger. And so I was back in Rhode Island, and that's where I got stopped for my DUI on November 28th of 1992. Not long ago, I celebrated 31 years sobriety, thank God. And I was driving like the biggest, craziest guy. You couldn't have found a worse driver in the entire world that night. I was bad. And thank God I did not harm another human being. But I got the idea to go back. And I said, what would happen if I tried to look up the officer? Everybody wants to point fingers nowadays. And my experience, I am so grateful that officer stopped me that night, because I might have done some serious damage. So I go down to the police station while I was back there, and they found the name of the guy. He had been retired, but I found him. His name is Bud Latham, wonderful human being. He's like the size of a guy that would be the starting tackle for any pro football team in the NFL, right? And he invites me to his house, and I got to stand in his driveway and look him in the eye and shake his hand and thank him for doing his job and saving my life that night. And, he stood there, big, tall guy. I'm only 5'9". I don't know. He's, huge. And then he had tears in his eyes, and he looks at me and he says, that was really cool of you to come over here and do that. He goes, nobody ever does it. Everybody just tells us how bad we are. And I said, well, Officer Bud, because you did your job to serve and protect the community that night from me, this crazy man driving around town, I've now been able to help hundreds upon hundreds of other people over the last 31 years to have better lives, all because you did your job that night. And those are two of the biggest blessings that I got out of writing my books.
Yeah. What message would you like viewers that are watching today? What would you like them to take away from this interview? I mean, just listening to you, you're an inspiration. You've turned your life around, but there's got to be a few things that you want the audience to take away.
Yes. Well, I also am now writing a book called The Book You're Dying Not to Write. So it may be a book for you. It was a book for me. Maybe it's a business you've been dying to start. You're just having a climb a mountain, whatever it might be. But there's something in each of us that we've never done for whatever reason, how many excuses we can come up with, whatever. And I just want you to know right now that if you're watching this and you've been holding back, now is the time. I was at a memorial service for a 39-year-old gal not all that long ago. At the eulogy, her brother got up and said, I always joked with my sister Anna that she should write a book. She had all these amazing stories. And she always said to me, yes, I'll do it someday. Well, guess what? Anna's now 6 feet under. She's never had that opportunity because she never believed enough in herself. My prayer is that you will believe enough in yourself so that whether it's a book, whatever it might be, just write that first word. Know that you're worthy and you're valuable to somebody. Your story, something that you're not sharing with the world, like I didn't share, and thank God I do with my aunt. Thank God I went and made my amends to the officer and thanked him. There's something in each one of us that can absolutely change somebody's life today. And it may be just be saying hi to someone and calling them by their first name. We never know what it is, but I pray that you will do the thing that's just eating away your soul, like not writing that book when I got all that information until I finally did. And now I have 4. And Kelli, I also have 2 faith-based movie scripts attached to my books, and a 3rd one is being written. So you never know what might happen once you just start doing the thing you're dying not to do.
We've all got that something that we're just dying not to do, that we just need to take that first step, open that notebook, grab a pen, and just start writing.
Absolutely, man. I'm telling you. And you know what happens is you just become a whole new human being. All of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, I can't write something. And I'll just tell you this, if you're one of the folks that is dying not to write a book, right? I met a very, very successful writer and I said, dude, I'm getting old. I've lost my hair. I'm getting old. I can't go to college for 4 years and learn how to be a writer. I said, give me the secrets. You're like this mega, really successful writer. He said, you want to know the secret, Rob? He said, you go to the 99-cent store, you give them $1. They'll give you a pad. You go to the 99-cent store and they'll also give them another $1. They'll give you a pen. You take that pen, start writing on the pad, and eventually you'll have a book. That was the secret to writing. And you just keep rewriting and rewriting. And that's it. The whole thing, Kelli, is just starting. Whether it's a business plan, whether it's climbing that mountain, then go out and buy the hiking poles you need, right? Or start the business plan, write it on a piece of paper, business plan, right? You want to start writing a book. What do? Just write Kelli's book. There you go. You got the title of your book. You can change it later, but at least you started, right?
That's exactly right.
And every day, I promise you, every day somebody comes up to me and I tell them, what they say, what do you do? I say, I'm a faith-based author. And they're like, oh, I got a book I want to write. And it's like, well, when are you going to start?
Gotta start.
And then they give you 1,000 excuses, right? And
Baby
so my prayer is,
steps.
yes, that whoever it is that's watching, you who's watching right now, I pray that today's the day that whatever it is that you have doubt about yourself in, the thing you have the most doubt is the most powerful thing that you have to offer this world. So please, like I cheated my family out of the goodness, as you saw with my aunt, finally got all the goodness in the end. Imagine how bad I would have felt. I would have never known really, but imagine I would have cheated her out of all that joy in the last year of her life had I just not done what I didn't think I could do.
Rob, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you sharing your inspirational stories.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.